Now go. You won't have to look at any of this after the fact. Okay, so that's going. I'm going to go ahead and
Good evening and welcome to the NARS Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship of 2025. Round 10, the penultimate round of the season, takes us to Road Atlanta, where we've got 90 minutes of some racing action involving 5 classes gunning for glory. I am Tom Kent in the commentary position. James Parfitt, we hope, will be with us during the broadcast. But it's not just me that's on there. No, I've got Ross Smith alongside me to take us through the action and analyse everything that we are seeing here at this gorgeous Road Atlanta circuit. As we look at the racetrack in terms of the course, it's built in 1970, 4 kilometers long, built it's got around about 11 corners, or 12 corners, I should say, according to how the Americans would call it, because there is a 10A and 10B chicane before the end of the lap. In case you're wondering what are the orange, the red, and the blue, well, it depends on how severe the penalties will be if you are at the wrong end of a collision. Now, the orange is like medium penalties. The red is where the harsher penalties, or the harshest penalties, will be given out if you are responsible for anything or any wrongdoings. So that's pretty much all you need to do on that front. In regards to the championship standings, as we have a look first at the hypercar class, Troy Uyan leads the way on 237 points. Second is Ben Kesby on 164. It's Johnny Gutierrez in third place on 145. Then it's Joe Lalonde in fourth on 137, so he's 100 points off the top. We've got John Mayer, Jerry Chen, Brian Hall, Igo Karabekak, Sahil Mustak, Dan Kirby, and Mike Bell, rounding out all of those to have scored points so far this season. In Hypercar Am, Lanny Hall leads the way on 201 points, 29 clear over second place Norm Graf. There's Carl Stroll in third place on 162. He's 39 points off the top. It's a long way down to the likes of Adrian Rice, Oliver Day, Scar Pope, Philip Ducati, and Diego Rodriguez. On to the LMP2 class, it's Alec King who's at the top of the pile on 210 points, with JT Tammy in second on 171. It's Luciano Ichazo in third place on 162. There's Michael Locke in fourth on 110. There's Tucker Martin, Preston McNair, Micah Dern, Cole McMillan, Becky Ely Clark, Tom Lane, Josh McGlinskey, Stuart Barge, and Damon Nadrasic, rounding out all of those to have scored so far in that particular category. In the LMGT3s, Ryan Paulbert Reyes leads the way on 220, 32 clear over Alan Holden in second on 188. It's James Walker in third. On 179, that's Matthew Overton in fourth on 152. Eric Jacobs in fifth on 134. Then we've got the likes of Dave Coors, William Schutting, Don Fryman, and Dan Kent, who have not really been racing much this season as so far. Then finally onto the LMGT3 AMs, we've got Stephen Miller leading by just 3 points over Max Sunthunlap in second place, and it's Alexander McQuarrie in third place, 172. So just 5 points separating those 3 drivers. That's probably the closest of the LMGT3 AMs in terms of the championship running. Paul Ibbotson in fourth place on 140, and it's David Anderson in fifth on 177. And a long way down, we've got James Boders, Tom Nacella, Olivier Givet, Frank Radosti, Stacey Scott, and Jamie Solecki, who have been competing so far this season. And finally, we'll look at the teams at the top. We've got Shady Motorsports LMP2 leading on 381 points, and it's Dark Thunder Racing in second on 324. LSD Motorsport GT3 are third on 308, and then a long way back are Vice Racing, TP Performance by STM, Ranch by STM, and Spin Doctors Racing down at the bottom with just 8 points. Enough of me speaking. Let's have a word with Ross Smith and get his thoughts on what we expect to see here at Road Atlanta. Ross, good evening to you. Absolutely so. And that leads us on to the keys to the race. Now, in case you're wondering how are the drivers going to go about it, well, early throttle out of turns 5 and 7 is going to be paramount. Don't pass in the S's, which I think is what you alluded to there, Ross, as well. It'd be rather silly, really, to try and make a pass work unless you're trying to lap someone. By the way, don't pass in the S's is what the keys to the race are. And also pick passing points carefully. So you've got the likes of the first hairpin of turn 6 and 7. It's not really a hairpin, it's more like a double corner. That is like 150 turn of a hairpin. 180 degree turn of a hairpin is what I was meant to say. Turn 6 and 7, either way, is a vital passing point, but also at 10A and B, that's going to be a vital point to get the overtakes done. Now, I expect to see a lot done over there. We are not too far away from the race starting. Qualifying did conclude. 25 drivers are expected to be competing in today's race. Ambient temperature is 15 degrees, track temperature 31. Are going to do to affect the race strategy here, Ross? Because we looked at the keys to the race with the strategies, because I didn't mention that actually when I was going through the keys to the race. For GTs, we expect 2 pit stops with each stint lasting 30 to 35 minutes. And for the hypercars, 3 to 4 pit stops, 20 to 24 minutes for each sprint.
Attention grid, will all non-essential personnel leave the grid now?
Absolutely, and this is a chance for us to run down on the grid for today's race. Dan Kirby on pole position with Troy Oyen. Alongside him, we've got Brian Hull and Johnny Gutierrez on the second row. Jerry Chen and John Mayer on row 3, followed by John Uyan and Gilles Lalonde on the fourth row, rounding all of those in the hypercar class. Then we've got Alec King and Lanny Hull on row 10, followed by Norm Groff and Adrian Rice. Now you could just hear the klaxon in the background there. That's just to signal the formation that the race has not started yet. But so they'll do 1 lap round, and it'll be race underway via a rolling start. We'll resume with the grid. JT, Tammy and Michael Locke are 13th and 14th places on the grid. Alexander McCreary, the highest of the LMGT3Ms, in 15th ahead of Ryan Paulbert Reyes, who's the highest of the LMGT3s. He lines up in 16th position. It's Paul Ibbotson and Alan Holden on row 9, 17th and 18th positions they are. Then we've got Matt Overton and Eric Jacobs in 19th and 20th. with Mark Sunthornlap and James Bowders on the 11th row. Then we are looking, although I'm seeing the changes in the order change a little bit there. Stephen Miller's 23rd on the grid, ahead of Tom Nacella, with Juts Whitfield and Olivier Chavez rounding out the 26 cars lining up on the grid for today's event. Out of turn 7 they come, and onto the back straight, which will lead towards turns 10A and 10B. Don't ask me why those corners are named after now, but they are what they are. So we've not got long to go now, and of course the Hypercars will pull clear of the GTs, but when they catch up to them, it is a very short lap, so it won't be long before we start seeing the Hypercars making the most of the GT3s when they come out to lap. Then it could have also a say on how the races are decided in all 5 respective classes. Here we go then, round 10 of the championship, the penultimate round. VIR we've got to go to after this one to round off the season. Get your popcorn ready and get ready for some action here at Road Atlanta. Will Dan Kirby convert his pole position into the win in that Cadillac? We shall see. So it'll be a rolling start, and you can just see Troy Uyan, the leader in the championship, just needing to continue his run of form, and the championship should be his. We hit the 90-minute mark, and we are good to go here at Road Atlanta. Dan Kirby leading the way over Troy Uyan, and then we've got Hall next behind in the Cadillac V Series R. So we've got 3 Cadillacs in the top 3 places as they come through the S's, and Dan Kirby is clear. Now the GTs haven't quite started yet, but we are looking at Tom Nacella, who's at the back. There are the LMP2s pulling clear. That's Alec King leading the way ahead of JT Tammy and Michael Locke as they enter the S's for the first time in this one. And further up ahead of him, the Hypercar AMs have also got going, and the LMGT3s will have got going as well. Ryan Polbert Reyes leading the field clear. That's Alexander McCreary next behind, who is the leader of the AMs. So 2 different classes those 2 are in. Alan Holden and Paul Ibbotson are in 17th and 18th overall, and second in both the LMGT3 and LMGT3 classes, or LMGT3M classes, I should say. But there's Dan Kirby already halfway round the lap, coming towards 10A and 10B. But it feels to me, Ross, that everyone has got through safe and sound.
Yeah, I was kind of marveling at the gap that the leaders in each one of the classes that we're going to were able to really pull from the rest of their field. We saw with the GT3s that Ryan Paul Reyes, he was just way out in front. I mean, yeah, Alexander McQuarrie not too far away from him, but man, he was just right there with them, and everyone else was barely even coming down the hill by the time that they were leading their way up out past the sand traps on the other side.
We're on to the second lap now. No major changes in the field as we speak. Everyone's just settling into a rhythm. They know it's going to be a long one. 90 minutes it will be. And it won't be too long before, well, I say it won't be too long before we start seeing pit stops, but around about 20 to 24 minutes into this one, we should expect the Hypercars to enter the pit lane for their first of either 3 or 4 stops. Paul Ibbotson in second place in class. 2 places behind him is Eric Jacobs in that turquoise or cyan liveried Aston Martin Vantage. In front of Jacobs is Matt Overton. Now, Matt Overton, who competes in another championship in the Aston Martin Vantage in that car again. It's in a different livery to what we've seen from him before, but either way, it's a good start from Overton in this, in 3rd position in class. And it feels to me like there's no like major threats, although this is probably the closest battle we've got as Jacobs attacks Overton to the outside. They'll go through the kinks of 8 and 9 before they get to turns A and B, but Overton shuts the door before they even get to the second of the kinks.
It's a good little battle group here between these Aston Martin advantages. And you see Stephen Miller kind of popping up in the back there, and it looks like something happened. Oh, James Bowder's around. This is just up the field from him, I think. Maybe just behind. Yeah, he's falling back down. It looks like he got tapped in the rear going down into the 10A/B section. Unfortunately, having a little bit of trouble trying to be able to get that to pull it up. And we see Eric Jacobs now pulling into the pits. I believe he's serving a penalty from one of the prior races. I want to say that was from Detroit, actually, so it's way back. That might have even been one of the first races where he came back, where he actually was coming in to have to serve that. So that's pretty wild, you know, having to come all the way back through the season and now having to deal with the penalty. But serves it actually doesn't lose too terribly much time, and drivers, just as kind of a reminder here, they do have to serve any kind of penalty that they receive from the races within the first few laps. So, oh no, James is around again.
Yep, he's had another spin as James at the S's. Around he goes in the Porsche 911 GT3. And you can just see we won't want to be battering against the wall too much there. And Bowder's not having a good start to the race. I don't know why he's having to reverse that. He's back on circuit now. I think he's got some form of damage to the machine. He should be able to get back on circuit now. There's no cars coming. No, he's got going. Yeah, it's a shame. And we can see also the hypercars are filtering their way through the LMGT3s already. It's going very quickly, and there's a mistake there from the Cadillac of Hall, who gets overtaken by Gutierrez. Is that a penalty as well for Hall, who's coming in?
I want to say yes. I can't see any other reason why he would need to pull off that quickly. I think maybe Brian Hall was trying to extend a little bit, like use up all 3 of those laps if he can, to make sure that he has some separation from the other classes of cars, although they are already starting to lap in the hypercars. So you can see they're catching up to the back end of the G2 field. It's, wow, that was really fast. I was not expecting him to be there in just a couple laps. So yeah, Gutierrez moves up. He's in podium position as they are swarming through the GTs now. And he's got eyes locked on Troy Uyan, who was son to John Uyan down at BMW. The first time that car, actually second time that JT Tanger ran it at Detroit, switching it up there. But it's going to be interesting to see what he can do with that car. He's getting some big pressure from Gutierrez coming through in the 9X8. See if he's able to do anything coming down the long stretch. That 9X8 has some pretty long legs when it comes to these legs here. He's putting some pressure on them. And it looks like we have, a collision. Matthew Overton, and I believe that's Max Sun from the lap. So that train we saw earlier, I'm guessing that they probably had it coming together going through there.
We'll find out more on that. But what I was going to say, Ross, is that Troy Uyan got held up horribly by the GTs at the S's. That's why the gap between him and Gutierrez had shrunk significantly. And there we see one of the other hypercars going through there. I didn't quite see who that was though, but he's having to take a tighter line, which ends up him going onto the grass on the outside. That's the dangers of passing cars through the S's. Even if you are in a hypercar, you've still got to be very, very careful in how you tackle and overtake other cars, even if they are significantly slower than you are.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Jerry Chen going for a ride there. I think that he was just kind of off-center coming over the crest before entering the S's, and he was just doing his best to avoid the GTs. Always the GT Whisperer, he spent a lot of time going through with them and duking it out. So he knows how to drive, he knows how to be respectful, so he's just trying to give him some space. But unfortunately, that has cost him a little bit of track position here as we see a move going on with John Uyan up the track here. So he's trying to make his way through in that BMW we just talked about, and that is going to be on John Mayer, who's actually teammates with Jerry Chen in the Saturday BWC series. So running different cars. Normally he would be in the Porsche right there with Jerry, but not today. It looks like, oh no, Whitfield's off. Oh, the GTs, they're having major issues. Looks like he's had some kind of coming together with Stephen Miller back there. Oh, that was a close one. Coming up in front of one of the LMP2s. I want to say that was probably Michael Locke. And
Now there is Miller coming into the pit lane. Jazz Whitfield continues on his way. I wonder if he's got damage there, as Stephen Miller, who's just come into the pit lane. Alexander McCreary leading the way in the LNGT3 AMS, as we are looking at Brian Hall, who's sitting in 8th position in the Hypercars. And you can just see he is behind. Who's he behind there as they go or come out of the S's? That has to be
Norm Graff.
So,
Yeah, and the Aston Martin. Yeah,
so
great.
he's
to see
chasing
that.
the.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, no, go. I'll let you. I can see what you're going to say.
Oh no, I was just commenting. It's great to see that Aston Martin out there. It's you know, we don't get to we do get to see it quite a bit now in the VWC series. That the Rookie Monsters team has taken over or switched over to that car, but certainly in NARS here, it's great to see them mixing it up with the field. So good on him for taking over and doing that drive. He's got some pressure here from Brian Hall, Norm Graff. These two often find each other on track, and that's actually Lanny Hall, Ryan's brother, just up ahead of them there in that blue Cadillac. And he's about to get stomped on here pretty quickly as well. If he can't make some separation, that's Adrian Rice then in front of them, all for position on track, although they are separated. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, they're all in the Hypercar AM class. So yeah, they're going for it, except for Brian. Brian Hall's up in the pros, so he's stuck back in AM land, trying to get through.
And he's got the leader of the LMP2s. Alec King is right behind, fighting for position. Now, there are only 3 LMP2 cars in this race. Alec King, JT Tammy and Michael Locke, who are effectively nose to tail. Alec King is over a couple of seconds clear of JT Tammy. Michael Locke is another 3 to 4 seconds back. So they are nose to tail, those 3 respective drivers, as they head down the back straight. We've got a continuation of sector 3 yellows. Didn't quite pick up on who it was, but there we see Brian Hall going through on Norm Graff for position. And I think that should be job done for the Aston Martin. He has got through. Oh, it's the Cadillac, sorry, my apologies. It's the Cadillac that's got by the Aston Martin. Valkyrie. There we see Brian Hall moving up a position and making up for lost time.
A little bit of battle going on back here in the GT AMs. Now that we've had a little bit of that chaos early on, we can see that Olivier Gervais is now getting pressured by Jazz Whitfield, who's you know, he's had a little bit of a rough start here in that Mustang, but he's starting to put pressure. We've got 3 front engine cars right here, just kind of going at it. And it will be that last year for that Lexus. Unfortunately, it will be going away as soon as we see as it goes off. Really pushing it hard through there as Jazz now tries to take the overtake into turn 1. And it looks like he's going to have a job done.
And through goes past Olivier Chevet. That's a spin for Brian Hall. That's over at turn 7 where he's gone for a spinner.
It looked like somebody else is going, and it might have just been avoidance, but I want to say maybe one of the LP2s he was kind of just going off to the right-hand side there screen, but Alec King now, and now he's getting under pressure, so that might actually have been Alec King getting up into that hypercar battle, because now he is under attack by JT Tammy.
Yeah, and there's a GT that is in the way of the car that's in front of Alec King. It's almost 3 wide into turn 1 there. Alec King was able to pass Lanny Hall into turn 1. Lanny Hall got held up by that GT that was in the way, and Alec King was able to basically keep it pinned to the floor and make his way past before they got to the S's.
That's good. You're going to see Alec King. He and both JT Tammy are pretty quick in these LMP2s, and on such a short track as this, they're so good and so consistent with their pace that even if you're in a hypercar, you don't really have too many straightaways where you're able to really escape them. So they're able to use a lot of that aero advantage that you see in those LMPs and just really press it up there. You can see as they're starting to get around Lanny Hall and make some moves that, Johnny Gutierrez has now gone off. I believe that's around the crest of the hill coming down towards the S's. Yes. So he's had a round.
Just like, the more I see that, the more it makes me think his rear wing has taken some damage. But no, we can't get replays right now for you. But it feels to me like Gutierrez had a spin at the S's. He's continuing on his way. He's still in 3rd position, but he has lost ground to Troy Uyan, who was behind him before Gutierrez got held up in the traffic. And now they've lost even further ground to Dan Kirby, who's continuing to dominate proceedings here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, that was such a shame, because I know that as we ride on board here with Jerry Chen, is putting some pressure on John Uyan. This is for 5th position. Gutierrez, unfortunately, has had that kind of season all year long where he just unfortunately keeps running into problems where he'll be doing so well, and then all of a sudden he just runs into problems. And oh no, Alan Holden's around. Oh, we're having issues. That's down in the S's. I think he's hit the wall pretty hard there.
Yeah, it looks like he has, and Alan Holden's come back out in 3rd position in that Ferrari 296, and that is him losing time as well. Now Eric Jacobs, who, if you remember, had to come in for a penalty to be served on the back of something that occurred in the previous race in Detroit, but he's still in 4th position behind Holden. There he is, Eric Jacobs, in that cyan liveried car, not too far back. I think that might be Dan. Is that Dan Kirby coming through? Is that Troy Uyan? I think that's Troy Uyan who is coming through. There is Dan Kirby further up ahead in that red Cadillac, putting a lap on Stephen Miller, who stays out of the way. And there's going to be a lot of times where Dan Kirby is going to be picking his way through the field, which at times can be very fun, but when you catch up to them at the wrong point on the circuit, it can get very irritating.
Yeah, and that's going to be the entire race for today. And we saw with the real thing, that was exactly what was going on, where drivers just were constantly running into traffic, and it just throws your rhythm off so much, especially when you're deep in a fight like this one. This continues to go on with Leon and Chen, and I believe, yeah, that's still John Mayer right in front of him. So this is a nice little 3-way tango as they come around Jazz to just put Whitfield down another lap. And it's cool to see this. I love these retro liveries, by the way. John Leon running one from the BMW that ran, I want to say that was on the LMP that ran late 90s. And yeah, I think that Jerry's starting to get a little nibble there. He's looking real close. And I think we saw Alan Holden with a retro livery, and I want to say one of the Porsches in the GT class is running another late 90s livery. So yeah, really cool to watch this. But yeah, some red, white, and blue here going on with this battle. And is that Gutierrez in the background who's coming around?
No, it's Gilles Lalonde. Lalonde is
yeah,
a little bit... Yeah, Lalonde is a very similar livery to what Johnny Gutierrez is running. Gilles Lalonde is not too far off this group, running about a couple of seconds off Jerry Chen, so it'll be sooner rather than later we'll see a battle. That was a bad mistake by from John Mayer at the chicane, allowing Jerry Chen and John Uyan to close back in. We ride on board with John Uyan running in 5th position, both in class and overall. It's just got by Jerry Chen 4th position, although Dan Kirby, is in the pits, Dan Kirby? I think he is, yeah. I thought he had gone off for a second there, but I looked at my timing page, indicating he's in for the first of his 4 pit stops, I believe.
Oh yeah, look at that. He might even be taking tires. I mean, it looks like that. It might just be the animation. I would imagine they'd probably try and double stint a little bit here if possible, but you know, Dan Kirby, always the unusual one. You know, he'll pick up little strategy differentials here and there, and you know, just kind of come through the race. You know, he'll see him drop back. I guess we'll see just by the length of this pit stop how he might be able to run. It's a little bit longer. It's usually about, I want to say, 20 seconds or so just for fuel, and you about double that when it comes to the tires. You know, around 30 to 35 seconds. So this is for a long time. This battle's still going on back down in the order again. This is for 3rd, 4th, and 5th now, as pit stops start to cycle through. You see these guys trying to get in here. They'll want to be out in front of each other so they can control that pace as soon as they enter pit road. Because any time that you can do that, you can kind of set the tone going in there. It might grant you just a little bit of advantage, but of course now they're going to run into traffic going through the S's. This is going to be a tricky spot.
Kirby's still in the pit lane, as far as we know. He'll come back out sooner rather than later, but I'm conscious of how much faster the pit stops are going to be for his rivals for when they come in. Now, if they've started the race on heavier amounts of fuel, well, it could prove to be apparent as we see The Hypercars filtering their way past the GT3s. That was Stephen Miller getting out of the way of Maya, Uyan and Chen at turn 7. Lalonde will have got through as well. He's closing in on these 3. So we've actually got a genuine 4-way battle for 3rd place on track, effectively 4th, because Dan Kirby, who was leading, has had to come into the pits for his first scheduled stop. And he has come back out in the race. Is it? No, he's still in the pit lane, is Dan Kirby. What is going on with that Cadillac?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, something's gone terribly wrong there. I believe he's now lost a lap or 2 as far as...
He's lost 2 already.
Yeah.
He's down 2 laps on the leader already. Something must be wrong with Dan Kirby's car. I wonder if he's been in the wall somewhere.
He did come in early. You're right. Yeah, he might actually be going through some damage repair. I don't know why that would be, though. He had such a tremendous lead, unless he got caught up in maybe one of those spins or one of the other cars that was going through. It's the only other thing I could think of as we jump back here and look at some of the EM final, although that's Brian Hall behind his brother.
Now we look at Lenny Hull. Right. Yeah, I'm not convinced that is a genuine pit stop for Dan Kirby. It's premature as well, because we don't expect pit stops from the Hypercars until at least 20 to 25 minutes into this one. Dan Kirby came in, ran about 16, 17 minutes into it.
Yeah, and it's too early for that to be going on. Yeah, that's a true shame for him. I know that he's kind of out of the championship fight now, since he's changed cars a few times. He's sort of been using NARS as test bed for the PWC championship, because he's got a much closer fight there, and you know, he's helping out a little bit of testing with some of the cars here too. He's on the Storm Gang simulation testing team, so anytime that he can jump around in race conditions and give some extra data to help with that, kind of get a jump start before we go through our dev testing cycle. A little shameless plug for us. You know, he likes to give a hand and do what he can. A little battle back here with Paul Ibbotson. This is for first place, actually, within the LMGT3 AM. So that's Alexander McQueer just in front of him. And these two have been back and forth, not only in this race, but all through the season. We had an off track. It looked like there was a confrontation between John Uyan and Jerry Chen. Both of them had some kind of off, so it looks like they may have kind of coming together just a second ago.
Yeah, they're down to 5th and 6th places, those two. They were running 4th and 5th, but now they're both behind Lalonde, who's made the most of their shenanigans. The race leader right now, after Dan Kirby's exit from this race, is Troy Uyan. There he is, 12 seconds ahead in the lead over Johnny Gutierrez. And then behind Gutierrez is John Mayer, who's another 13 seconds back. So you have to say at this point, really, it's Troy Uyan's race to lose.
Yeah, Tom, it sure is. And we can see in the background there, actually, Dan Kirby finally did come out. So I think you're right. I think there was some kind of damage there. It's just very, very odd that, that speaking of damage, there's Lalonde. He's in the wall. It looks like he lost part of his wing.
Ooh.
His wick cut across. That was not clean. Jerry's not going to be thrilled about that one. I'm sure he's going to have some words at the end.
That was definitely an unsafe rejoin from Lalonde. There'll be some words after, I would have thought. But he's now behind Jerry Chen, and in between those two cars will be one of the Hypercar AMS. Now, I can't tell, is it Adrian Rice? Yeah, so Adrian Rice, who's the leader of the AMS at the moment, who won't want his position being affected by anything that Lalonde does. But I think through that mistake, Lalonde will be desperate to make up for lost time. Lanny Hull is a long way back from Norm Graf and Adrian Rice right now, through everything that we have seen so far in this one. The only drivers who have made a pit stop, or genuine pit stop in this race, have been Stephen Miller and Dan Kirby, although it wasn't really a genuine pit stop. It felt like an eternity, which Dan Kirby was in the pits for. But at least he's now back on circuit, and the challenge that he's now got, which he'll accomplish before the race is over, is getting back ahead of all the GTs.
I was just kind of marveling at some of the debris that's lying around the track now. We had so many offs so early on that you're starting to see some of that stuff pile up. And to your point there, off there with Paul Eveson, who's deep in that fight there right with Alexander McQueer, and it looks like that's going to be a pass for position. career. He's going to take that away, and now he is taking the lead of GT3 AM. So it's not job done, though, because Paul Iveson is right there, and he's going to continue to put pressure on him. And I believe that 911, Paul's kind of got it hammered in, so that way it comes on stronger in the second half of the stint. And as we know, of course, 911's doing 911 things. You can either have you know, a very stable car early on or towards the end, and I think Paul likes to push it on the backside of that. He's definitely hooked up. Look at him go for the dive, right down to 10A. Alexander does not
Nice.
take a fight.
It's been a super fight. Brian Hole and Norm Graf have been in the pits. Adrian Rice likewise. And they are now back out on circuit. Norm Graf was just waiting to head back out of him. Got pit stops over within the hypercar class now. Troy Uyan, Johnny Gutierrez, John Mayer and Jerry Chen are all in. That hands the lead over to John Uyan and Gilles Lalonde, who are first and second, with Troy Uyan getting back out in third position.
I think that I was trying to see which one of those 9X8s that just went out. I believe that was Gutierrez. Yeah, so he's out, and it looks like Gervais is also gone out. Oh, big slide there. As oh no, one of the LMPs. Which one is that? That's just in the background there. Just trying to.
Michael
find
Locke.
Yeah.
It's Michael Locke, I think, that's gone for a little bit of Tokyo Drift. It's probably not the best place to be doing a Tokyo Drift. It's embarrassing enough to do it on the circuit, but doing it in your own pit box, I'll let you decide on that one, Ross.
It's such a shame, too, because it looked like he might have been able to have a chance to kind of catch up with the fight going on there with JT Tammy and Alec King. Although, where is Alec King gone? I'm trying to find him. It looks like he's actually up to 4th place overall. So he's, yeah, here he comes into the pits himself. So he's actually right on the back end. And I'm trying to pick out where JT Tammy. I will say, and there's Tammy coming in, so he's not too far behind. He does like to. Here we have another one. As soon as I'm talking, Tom Nacella up the outside of turn 1, right into that barrier where we've seen so many accidents in real life too. And that car does not look healthy.
It doesn't. It looks like it's been in the walls. Oh, someone else has
Gutierrez.
gone off there. Is that Gutierrez? Have those two come together, or has Gutierrez decided to go a little bit of lawn mowing?
I think that was he kind of locked eyes with the dust cloud on the left and sort of just started taking the wheel down. It looks like Tom's going to probably park it now.
Yeah, the Mustang's damaged. You can just tell by how leisurely the car was moving after the off. And so he's back in the garage now, and that is effectively the end of Nacella's race. James Bowders, who has had his own run of misfortune in this race, has got back into it now, running in 5th position in class. And he is now ahead of Olivier Chevet. He's ahead of Dan Kirby, who we expect to see come back through the field. He's run about 15 seconds off Olivier Chevet, but that gap will come down very, very, very quickly.
That was that was actually the Porsche that I was talking about. Yeah, so Ryan Paul Reyes, who is our leader now in GT3 in the Pro Series, and healthy gap to 2nd place, so no reason why he needs to be pushing unless he was just kind of caught up and maybe some traffic there. And why? We're seeing a lot of offs right now. This is just really wild. And we have another one, another coming together with it looks like is that Matthew Overton and Eric Jacobs.
I think so, yeah. And that is, I think that was Alexander McQuarrie. It can't be Alexander McQuarrie, it's just coming to lap because he's further behind. But either way, Eric Jacobs, it might be. Sutherlap is in the AMS, in between those two. Sutherlap is running in 3rd in LMGT3 AM. Jez Whitfield is 24 seconds behind. It can all change with drivers falling all over the place. 27 minutes into this one. In the hypercar class, Troy Uyan leads this one after the first round. The stops over Johnny Gutierrez in 2nd place. It's John Uyan, Gilles Lalonde, Jerry Chen and John Mayer ran out the top 6 there. In hypercar AM, with 3 drivers only involved, Lance Hull, or Lanny Hull I should say, has come into the pits, running in 2nd position behind Adrian Rice, who's leading out comfortably, with Norm Graf running in 3rd there. In LMP2, also just 3 drivers competing in that. You got King leading the way, Alec King that is, and it's JT Tammy and Michael Locke in 2nd and 3rd places, not too far apart from each other. LMGT3 Pro, Riot Polbert Reyes leading the way, and it's Alan Holden and Matt Overton in the top 3, and Eric Jacobs, who is in a tussle with Overton at the back. And finally at LMGT3 AM, Paul Ibbotson is just clear over Alexander McQuarrie. Those two are nose to tail actually, so good battle brewing right there. And behind those two is Max Sunthunlap in the Aston Martin Vantage, followed by Jazz Whitfield, James Broders and Olivier Chevet.
Yeah, a little bit of a battle going. So now Gilles Lalonde is falling back in between Ouillon and Chen. It's looking like these two are just going to keep going at it. They're right on top of each other, Chen and Ouillon, and they just keep going around and finding other dance partners within the hypercar class to join them. Before it was John Mayer, who's fallen back now to 7th overall, and looks like he's putting on a little bit of pressure here with Adrian Rice, who's just up in front of him. It looks like running that the Acura ARX 6. Yep, it is just kind of up ahead. A little bit of a note on that livery, by the way, the ARX that's for HRC. That livery it didn't actually run. However, that was actually done by one of our livery artists who did quite a few of these cars for us. He submitted that to HRC through George Angelis, and they used it in a lot of their official promotional material. So it was really cool to see that being used. Oh no! Oh, big hit, Brian Hall going off in turn 1. Oh man,
A long way as well.
Yeah.
How has he managed to do that? Has he caught the curb and gone completely flying off the racetrack there? Brian Hall, who is doing his best to keep going. He's looking for that reverse gear so he can perform a 3-point turn. There's no question that car will be significantly damaged. You could just see all the advertising hoardings that, or blocks, however you want to call them. He's taken those with him. And it wouldn't be at all surprised to see him back in the pit lane to get some repair work done.
Sorry about that. Okay. So
Further on ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah. Okay, I think we just jumped across the way. Troy Ouillon is leading the way, and I'll hand over to you, Ross, that you can tell me on something which is important to know.
Well, so yeah, Troy, he's been putting a good run on. Dan Kirby was one of the.
Oh, dearie me.
Oh, John, he's got some damage on the side of that car too, so I think he's caught a whack somewhere, and that's really unsettled it. That's kind of a shocker. You don't usually see that kind of mistake by Ouillon. He's typically pretty solid when it comes to just soloing it. Usually aren't any unforced errors, but that was a pretty big swing. That's put him back now behind Adrian Rice.
And there is John Ouillon looking to recover. From the moment he took the S's that tightly, I knew he wasn't going to make the corner. And that's why he ended up spinning around the way he did. But now he's behind the Hypercar AM leader, Adrian Rice, who's having a strong race so far, but he's about to get over. Oh dear! That was a little too risky there. I don't know whether Rice cut across or whether John Ouillon was too desperate to get back through. He's gone for a spin, and it looks like it's race done for John Ouillon.
Yeah.
He's got damage. He's out.
That's it. Yeah, that was... I can't believe that. He must have had some kind of major issue that was going on. If you just kind of cut back over here, checking out some of the GT3s since Alexander McQuarrie. Yeah, that was extremely unusual. I'm really unsure like what may have happened. Something transpired earlier on that caused him to catch some damage or something, because that car did not look healthy at all as he was coming in. We caught him going through that first spin. It's a real shame to see that too, because he's having such a great fight with Jerry Chen. They're already up into the top 5, you know, and kind of introducing Lalonde, Adrian Rice is pulling in there, and Mayer. So yeah, that's just a shame to see.
Alexander McQuarrie, one of the championship contenders in the LMGT3 AM class, entering for his first of what we expect to see 2 pit stops, and there is more coming in now. Whether it be in GT3 Pro or GT3 AM, it was almost like a what do you want to call it? It was almost like bunch of trolleys sort of strolling through the same aisle,
Yeah.
if you want an analogy there.
Yeah, definitely a congregation going on. We see Paul Reyes getting out of there. He's it's a little bit crowded in here. I'm out of here. So he's back on track, still leading the way by a significant margin. He's got the closest one behind him is Eric Jacobs. Now this is interesting. So you can see on the timing tower that Paul Ibbotson is being scored higher for the entire AM classes, and that's because Ibbotson is actually in front of Ryan Paulbert Reyes, although it looks like he may have just slipped back down. He just lost one. No, he's still 14th overall, and Ryan here is sitting in 16th overall, with actually Dan Kirby between the two. So he's trying to make his way up still through some of that GT traffic after that extremely long pit stop early on.
The next one he'll be chasing is Paul Ibbotson, which will be the last of the GTs that he'll need to pass before he gets to the rear of Brian Hall, who is a long way up actually. So it's through the lap traffic, but not as the leader overall. There goes Jerry Chen lapping the traffic, and behind Jerry Chen is Gilles Lalonde, who's also got by. He's having a good race so far actually. He's Gilles Lalonde not been involved in too much trouble. He's made the most of other drivers' misfortunes in this race so far. And he looks to be continuing on his way. There was a little drift there through the first part of the SS there, but he survived that. And he's doing his best to keep up with Jerry Chen in the fight for the final podium position.
Yeah, you can see he said he's mostly kept out of the wars, although you can see he is missing a bit of a side panel on that wing, on the driver's side, on the left side, I guess there, he's facing on there. So, yeah, oh, what's happening over here? Adrian Rice, I just saw a little blip. Oh, he gets it loose coming off the corner. Yeah.
That's a bad mistake. Too impatient.
That's, you know, I'd have to say if they have not done any kind of, if he is double stinning his tires, that's such an easy thing to do, especially on that curbing there. It really upsets the cars, and that ARX6 is, in particular, very stiff. It's a very difficult car to keep under control. It does not like getting too upset on that Oreca chassis. Unlike, say, if you're running a Porsche or Cadillac, they can kind of roll with some disruption just a little bit more easily. The Acura is a little bit more planted on some of the twistier bits, but yeah, if you upset it too much, it'll bite you back just like that.
Well, Adrian Rice, after that spin, he is behind Alec King, who's the highest of the LMP2 cars, as they continue on. It is Troy Uyan who leads the way by 20 seconds over Johnny Gutierrez. And further back, we are looking at the Aston Martin of Norm Graf, who's at the bottom of the Hypercar AMS. Now he's
Right there, though. Sounds so good. In real life, especially if you're able to go to any of the races, you're right there on Lanny Hall. Is that Lanny Hall? Yeah, it is. It's in the. So he's actually gone. Oh, so he's putting Lanny. Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out what's going on there. He's crowding a little bit, so he's putting Lanny down a lap. It looks like.
Well, we're looking at Norm Graf now, who's going through the turn 6-7 section and up the hill through the kinks of 8 and 9 before he reaches the turns 10A and B chicane. Dan Kirby's got by the final of the GTs for position, coming back through the field. He's a long way back from Brian Hall, and to think that he's going to be getting ahead of him. I mean, even by Dan Kirby standards, this is going to be a tall order for him to get back ahead of any of those ahead of him, because Brian Hall is behind the LMP2s and the Hypercar AMS.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it right now. Relative scoring, he is a lap behind them, 3 laps down from the leaders. So he's lost significant time. I mean, that pit stop was just tremendous. And between Uyan and Gutierrez, I don't. I mean, honestly, in any of those top 5, I don't think he'd be able to catch up 3 laps. He might be able to do some fuel saving, maybe pull a lap on some of them, but there's no way he can clear that gap. That's just, it's going to be too much for the end of it.
Nevertheless, he'll be looking to recover something from this race. We're now 38 minutes into this one. On your Thursday evening, if you're watching in the US, or Friday morning, if you're watching over in the UK. We do welcome you. Do get involved in the live chat if you ever so wish to do so. But now I think we're heading towards the territory of the second round of pit stops involving the hypercars, aren't we now, Ross? Because, like I said before, it was 20 to 25 minutes for the first round of stops. Dan Kirby came in right about 16, 17 minutes in, presumably with some repair work needing to be done, which saw him in the box for a long, long time. He was leading the race, dominating, but it just underlines how quickly it can all change.
Yeah, it's very unusual. I mean, we've seen him have some incidents here or there. Usually it's you know, from some traffic, some consequence that he doesn't really have any control over, that unfortunately just draws him into it. It doesn't happen very often, but that one was unusual. I didn't really see anything that indicated he'd come into contact with anybody. He must have made something happen early on in the race, probably as he was coming up through the field. You know, ooh. That was a bit rude there, a little side-to-side Norm Graff to Laney Hall. I'm not sure why they're fighting as much as they are, at least getting as aggressive as that, especially with a lap between them. It just doesn't really make much sense there. But well, actually, I take that back. Looking at the time of the scoring, I guess Norm Graff is 0.3 seconds behind, so that was my mistake. I totally misread that. So that actually is 4th position. So they are fighting for 2nd place.
Laney Hall and Norm Graff dicing it out for 2nd place in the Hypercar AMS. They head over the line. We're right on board with JT Tummy, who's running 2nd in the LMP2s. And he's about 6 seconds clear over Michael Locke, who is chasing after. Now the next car of which he would be fighting JT Tummy for position is Alec King in LMP2s. And he's about, how far is he up? Those 12 seconds. That's contact between JT Tummy and Norm Graff. This is for overall position, so it's not just for the honours in their own classes. This is for genuine position. And how can you sum up actually the quality of competitiveness between the LMP2s and the hypercars?
So you actually got a really good look at it right there as they were going to the S's. When they were pulling down the front straight, that really allowed the hypercars to open up, use that extra horsepower to pull away from JT. But as soon as they got into the S's, you could see that JT could use that superior downforce, the much lower power to weight ratio that the LMP2s command, and he was able to close right in. And all it took was just a little bit of a mistake there, a little bit of a compromised entrance into the S's, and Norm Graff was immediately under attack. He got side by side. Look at it, here it is again. He was getting into a fight there, and already JT is having to put the screws to him. And I think, unless he's able to get back by him again, I think JT is actually going to make this pass stick. Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, he's taking advantage of these two hypercars just kind of going at it. He's saying, you guys fight it out. I'm going to go ahead and move on with my race. Oh, man.
Well, that is a change for position. JT Tummy through on both Norm Graff and Lanny Hall. That's off to him for the overtake he's done there. He's got 14 seconds now to make up on the next car. Although he's got by Lenny Hall, and is that Kirby's just gone off the road?
No, it was Jerry Chen. I think
Jerry
he might
Chen,
have been
yeah.
caught out a little bit by these two going at it.
Yeah.
That was unusual.
That was Eric Jacobs going off circuit and continuing to run wide, completely out of rhythm through the S's. And I wonder if he's gone off the circuit in the way he has done there. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he's picked up some form of damage.
Yeah, very possible. I mean, these cars, you know, as robust as they are, it doesn't take a whole lot. You know, you pop if you go for holes or hit a curb too hard, you can definitely hurt the car, particularly on some of the aero or some of the undertray. Jerry Chen is going real slow.
Yeah, I wonder if that's fuel. He's either got damage or it could be a little bit of fuel conservation. He may need to come in for fuel at the end of the lap. Yeah, he's not going as quickly as he should be.
That was, yeah, because right coming out of that corner, he had to have let up or gone to safety car or something, because he just, it doesn't look like the car is too yeah, here he comes. Just like you said, I think that's exactly right. That must be for fuel.
So he's coming in now, and he'll be in his box. I'll find out soon enough whether it is fuel, or it could be damage, or it may well be both now, because we've reached the point where we expect the hypercars to be coming in for their second fuel stops. Now, will Jerry Chen take new tyres? I think, given the fact that the right-hand side is lifted up, it could be the right-hand side taking new tyres. What do you reckon?
Well, with about 46 minutes to go, it would kind of make sense. We're about halfway through this race, so if he's going to take tires, now would be the ideal time, because then you can balance that wear and load, and it would give him the best shot at being able to come in and do some damage at the end. The track is abrasive. However, it's being so short, I feel like track position is kind of ideal, although with the field kind of thinned out a little bit more, it may not be as imperative to get out there like that. So I think he might be able to enjoy just a little bit more fresher rubber and make some moves to try and get back into the top 3 position if he can. He definitely has the car to do it, as long as he's able to keep up consistent pace in the second half.
Jerry Chen will come out of his box in sooner rather than later, but we're now looking at James Bowders running in 6th position in class, running 23rd overall. The only car behind him is Alexander McCreary, who was running towards the top end in that category, but now has dropped down the order all of a sudden. So I wonder what's happened to him at some point in this one. The LMG3M leader right now is Paul Ibbotson, who's got a margin of what looks like 52 seconds over Max Sunderland.
Trying to put the move here on Stephen Miller. Both of these cars have definitely been to the wars through this race early on and throughout. So this is for position. This is moving up. Bowers taking 5th, and Stephen Miller having a little bit of a rock from it. Now Paul Ibbotson coming up into this, our leader in the LMGT3M, and actually the leading GT car, as Ryan Paul raises the position behind him, who's leading the GT3, the pros. And there he is back there. So that is for position on track. They will not be fighting for position in class. So it'll be interesting to see between those 2 Porsches if they decide to, make anything of it, to, have a little bit of friendly competition, or if they just kind of, let each other go. If Paul gives them a little bit of space. And well, Ibbotson now. Yeah, look at this here. So he comes back through. Yeah, he catches a little bit of a delay there. Sorry about that, everyone. But and you can see that. So that situation sort of cleared out.
We'll head back to live images to see Choi Uyan continuing to pull clear. There we see Alec King in the Hypercar AM class, running in the lead overall, but not in the lead overall. LMP2, my apologies if I could get my words out. It's been that long night. It is coming up past, well, we are past 3:30 in the morning over in the UK, so perhaps my fatigue is beginning to kick in. Well, is the fatigue kicking in for Jerry Chen, because he's only just come out of the pit lane and he's going to hit the barrier on the far side, and I wonder if that'll be race over for him, because it's been a tricky one for him this evening.
Alec King,
and that's a collision.
Yeah, into Adrian Rice head on, and just as easily as we were talking about Alec King having such a dominating race, he's now he's got front end damage. We'll just have to see how significant that is, but JT Tammy has closed that gap just a little bit here. Oh my word.
Rice coming in. There's a few drivers ended up in the wars really now. Adrian Rice, who was leading the LMP2 class, well, he won't be anymore now that he's come into the pit lane. It's Lanny Hall leading the way now in that. John Mayer has come into the pit lane, as has Johnny Gutierrez, which will see Gilles Lalonde go through into 2nd position. There is Gutierrez coming in. Sorry, yeah, he is coming in now. It's Gutierrez into the marks. There are not being bored of this race. It's just my fatigue kicking in. That's what it is. But we are treated to quite a chaotic race so far. Troy Uyang coming in from the lead now. Will Jules Lalonde do the same, or will he gamble and stay out there on for another lap? Which leads on to the question, how much fuel has Jules Lalonde decided to save during this second stint, Ross?
Catch something happening there with Gervais, but that's a great question, Tom. You know, if he's been able to conserve and stay out of the wars as Gervais just kind of understeers off the track, that's another easy spot where, yeah, if you've got your balance off, your rhythm's off, and a penalty in the wrong graph, I'm gonna guess that's probably for speeding, most likely coming to the pit. So I think maybe he pressed his speed limiter button a little bit too early or too late coming onto the road, depending on when that took place. But that's a shame. So, but yeah. Oh, and he's gonna stay out another lap. So, so Lalonde, he's having a great race. He's actually the leader overall now. Well done, Gio.
Yep, he's done very well, but how much longer will he remain as the leader? And this could have a say on who does 3 stops and who does 4 later on. Troy Uyang has completed his stop, is now back out on circuit in 2nd position. Johnny Gutierrez is in 3rd place, with John Mayer having done his stop is now 4th. And further behind, we've got the first of the holes, who's running further down the order in the hypercar class. John Mayer is there. Brian Hall is now 4th, or 5th rather, in class. And who's that that's just gone off the circuit?
That was Norm Graff in the Aston Martin coming out of that turn 8 area. That was kind of unusual. I'm wondering if maybe he just caught the curb a little bit and that sort of just unsettled the car. Yeah, that was unfortunately right in front of a lot of the traffic as we watched it come through there.
Michael Locke is the latest to enter the pit lane. Jules Lalonde has made his way in now as well. He was able to stay out a lap longer than Troy Uyang, but it's a return to the front for Troy. Now, Dan Kirby, who had that long stay in the pit lane, he has made his 2nd stop now as well as the Cadillac driver. He's running 12th overall. Let's see if he can actually find a way back through the field. He'll get by Norm Graff, who is in. I wonder if it's a stop and go rather than a drive-through.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's usually for those types of penalties, it's going to be a drive-through. I'm wondering maybe...
I'm going to interrupt, Ross. I'm going to interrupt. Johnny Gutierrez has retired. We don't know why. Oh, there he is, why. He's had an accident.
Yeah.
That's a big one from this race. Johnny Gutierrez goes no further.
Oh, that was a
Oh,
big
that's a
hit.
big whack.
We might be able to see what happened here. Oh, so he was avoiding that incident. Oh, geez. That was... Oh, my goodness.
Aston Martin taking evasive action.
Just a shame. Just a shame to see that. So he's now out of the race, and he was doing so well. He was up to 3rd position as soon as that happened.
Through into 3rd place is the LMP2 of JT Tammy, who's only pitted once in this race so far. I don't know when he's going to come in for his 2nd stop, but we'll see soon enough. He is ahead of Adrian Rice, who is right on the tail of Lanny Hull. So those two will go to battle. Oh, that's a hit in the against the barrier for Max Sutherland. Then the front right wheel has come off.
Oh no.
Oh, he's got hit as well.
I think that it was either Chen or it was the 296 of Holden. I just saw a red car go through. Oh my word.
This is worrying.
Yeah, that's a terrible spot right at the crest of the hill. It's so hard to see there. Yeah, he's gonna have a hard
It
time.
really is kicking off here at Road Atlanta. Now, we knew it was going to be chaotic of some degree, but maybe not as chaotic as what we are witnessing. If I was Max Sutherland, I'd just make his way back into pit lane. Although you could just see the Michelin tyre coming off the car, and I think that is more or less game over for Max Southernlap. Yep, DNF, game over, and that's his race run.
That is such a shame to see. That was he was doing so well, and it's just such a small mistake there coming up the hill. It looked like the tires had just gotten it heated up too much, just touched the curb, and it just put the car in the worst possible spot, straight into the tire barrier. Meanwhile, you've got
It's the fourth driver
Racing.
out. And there we see these two fighting over position. This is for the honours in the Hypercar AM class. You just see Adrian Rice. He got put off by Stephen Miller, who just couldn't quite get out of the way in time.
Norman Graff continuing to have issues just in front of that group. You see him on their right-hand side, driver's right, as they're going down the long back straight. And he obviously was the sort of the impetus, the catalyst, you could say, for that incident with Gutierrez that sent him flying off of turn one. Adrian Rice going a little bit off track there. I think he's trying to struggle just a little bit with his tires.
Just the top three on the lead lap now. No, well, it's showing it's lap 45 for the leader. I don't know if that's accounted the pace that we had before the race had started. I'd probably say that's the case. By the way, Orion is making this one look so easy. Dan Kirby, who had that long stay in the pit lane, is back up into 5th position in the hypercar class. Now running 10th overall, chasing after Brian Hull. Now, we haven't got any information on how far he is behind him, I don't think. Well, I could say he's a lap behind Brian Hull. But I think once he unlaps himself, we'll start to see the gap reducing, judging by Dan Kirby's pace. So it's going to be a matter of time before he actually catches up to the rear of Brian Hull. But I think maybe once they go through the first sectors, we'll get an idea. In fact, Dan Kirby's right behind Brian Hull on the road. As Adrian Rice puts a lap on one of the GTs that gets out of the way. Dan Kirby's right behind Brian Hull, Ross. A chance for him to unlap himself. And now he's got a chance to actually make up over a minute on him.
Yeah, that's still going to be a long ride to be able to get up there, though. I mean, he's only got 34 minutes basically to the end of this race. I don't know that he's going to be able to do that. Now, Brian, he could have some incidents here, and obviously, this has been a pretty chaotic race, despite the fact that we don't have a ton of cars on track right now. It's only 23 left. We started with 26. So, I mean, it kind of does show a little bit of how much the chaos factor comes into play here. And it kind of makes me a little bit excited for the sister race coming up on Saturday for the VWSC, because the field should be quite a bit more packed. And it's going to be a much longer race. Going to be, well, actually, maybe not that much longer. It's only going to be 100 minutes, but so 10 minutes longer. Not that much longer, but it's definitely going to be full of a lot of excitement if this race is anything to go by.
Pit stop over for Ibbotson, who's in, leader in the LMGT3 AMS, in the Porsche 911 GT3. He is coming in now. And I think on the timing page it actually picks up on them coming in long before they are actually due to pit in. I don't know if it's like a pit confirmed thing that they've all got on this R-Factor 2 mod. But he's in now, is Paul Ibbotson. But Gutierrez is, well, you just see Gutierrez is already out of the race, so he's just tumbling down the order, and that's Gilles Lalonde, first mistake of the race, and he just avoids the barrier, just like the sister car did.
I can't believe that. I thought for sure he was going to do a repeat of exactly what his teammate did, Gutierrez, when he went right off and banked into that wall and flew into the air. But yeah, exactly right. He got so lucky missing both walls.
He's now behind John Mayer, who's gone through. That's an unsafe rejoin. That's Dan Kirby, I believe, who was trying to make up for lost time. At least he's managed to unlap himself from Gilles Lalonde. But that is not a good sign from Gilles Lalonde, who is doing his best to keep his marbles intact. And
For position.
This is for position. Now he's in third place behind Mayer, who is just ahead of him in that blue liveried machine. Now this is for second place overall in this one. The Cadillac ahead of the Peugeot as they head down the straight.
You can start to really tell that we're heading later on into the day here as the shadows lengthen. This entire back straight is now in shadow. You can see we're just starting. Oh, and Mayer's off right in front of him. Oh, that was close.
Yep, that was close to a collision. And Lalonde gets through at last, but that so could end up in a different fashion really for both Lalonde and Mayer, who are second and third, both in hypercar class and overall. Behind those two, 25 seconds behind, is the LMP2 leader, Alec King, who's got 13 seconds in hand over JT Tammy in that respective category. Lanny Hall is the leader in the hypercar AMS, 2 seconds clear over Adrian Rice. And Dan Kirby is managed to unlap himself from Brian Hall now. I mean, you can see on the timing page, he is 70 seconds behind him. And he's on a mission to really come back at Brian Hall later on, or any of the others that fall by the wayside.
I thought that maybe Alec King was going to be suffering a little bit more after we saw that head-on collision that he had with, I believe that was Adrian Rice earlier on, some laps ago. But he's managing to, he actually lengthened that, oh, got a little bit of an off track there. He managed to lengthen that lead he has over JT Tammy by about a second. If you recall, he's down to about 10 seconds or so. So I guess either the damage wasn't quite as bad, or maybe JT is suffering a little bit himself.
Alec King. His lead is shrinking a little bit since we last spoke about. But now we are heading into the final third of this one. 30 minutes to go. The sun is setting. Darkness will loom. I wonder how much of an effect that'll have on the drivers. You can just see some of the advertising hoardings just being kicked up onto the racetrack, which is not exactly ideal.
No, definitely a sign of how a lot of this race has been. 30 minutes to go, there we go. So the last third of the race coming in. Looked like there were a couple of drivers that were on pit road.
Jazz Whitfield's. Yeah. Well, Whitfield's in for his latest stop, and he's come back out in 4th place in the LMGT3 AMS. Paul Libertson is over a lap clear of James Bowders, who has had his shenanigans at the beginning, stayed in this race, as though he should, and he's been rewarded with a 2nd place position with the way this one has been panning out for him.
I noticed Paul does not have his lights on, and as we know with R Factor 2, especially with the time acceleration, that can be a recipe for disaster. So hopefully it's just the other drivers have been more proactive and turned theirs on, and his auto headlights will kick on. As you can see a bit of a flash there. Otherwise, that can ruin your race in such a frustrating way. Just because you only get it about 5 seconds of a warning when that comes up, and it's really easy to not see it, especially if you're really concentrating in a battle or something like that. And all of a sudden, boom, you're suddenly disconnected. You have no idea why, and then you see your DQ because you didn't have your lights on.
We've lost 4 drivers in this race. Johnny Gutierrez, Max Southernlap, John Uyan and Tom Nisella are the drivers out of it. 22 still going, and there are the flashing lights being shown to Matt Overton, who remains out of the way of Troy Uyan, who is dominating proceedings over Gilles Lalonde, who is in 2nd place despite that spin that so easily could have put him out of the race. And it just takes one mistake really from Troy Uyan for the whole pendulum to swing back towards Gilles Lalonde and Co.'s place.
Yeah, you're right, Tom. I mean, it just kind of speaks to the nature of what we've seen unfolding with this race and this track in and of itself. If Troy Uyan, he's just dominated, a minute over top of the rest of the competition and more. And Gilles Lalonde, who's, as we saw, was having his own issues, losing bits of his car, he's still right there, second place. I mean, if something were to happen to Troy, he can inherit the lead, and he's got a pretty decent lead or his position himself over John Mayer. So at this point, it's kind of whoever wants to not lose the most kind of has the best chance of taking it all. So yeah, and actually that guy right back in the screen there, Jerry Chin, he was up there fighting. He was in a top 3 position, and we must have missed what happened to him. Either he was in the pits for a while, but he's fallen well down the order, down to 6th position, and well away from the drivers he was fighting with early on.
More pit stops happening in LMGT3. Alan Holden and James Bowders are the latest to come in. And Matt Overton remains out of the way of Cherry Chen, who gets by. Alan Holden is in the pits for what is the second of his stops. I think this could end up being the last one that he'll do. It'll be 2 stops for the LMGT3s. And for Hypercars, well, they'll do at least 1 more before this race is over. Now, 20 to 25 minutes was for them. We're now past the sort of 40 to 50 minute mark, but now it's going to be around about 1 minute, sorry, 1 hour to 1 hour 10 for the last stop. So we're now 1 hour and 4 minutes into this race here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it's definitely coming down. Oh, you can see some of what I was talking about earlier with the way that these GTs can sort of pick their way, pick their options in terms of when they can come in, just because they have a little more comfortable fuel burn and window when they go through. So, like for instance, Alan Holden here, he's able to come out and, you know, with 25 minutes to go, he was able to take a lengthier run for the first 2 stints and shorten that last one up to try and give himself a little bit more of a heads up here. So we'll see Overton's now in the pits. So if Alan can close that down, he might have a chance to be able to overtake Overton here. I think he will. He's not too far to go.
Sure, Lon was drifting his way through the S's there, nearly got caught out by Holden. And now he's got by him at last. And will continue on his way. Matt Overton is the next to come in the LMGT3 Pros, running in 3rd place. Holden will come up behind very, very soon. I think these pit stops are rather long, actually, depending on how long it takes for you to, if I get my words out, to change the tyres.
It's very late where you are.
It is very late. It's coming up to 4 o'clock in the morning now over in the UK. So yeah, it can be draining, but this is part of the routine of being a commentator, I suppose. Adrian Rice running in 2nd in the Hypercar AMS. He's on the rear of what looks like Dan Kirby, who's got one of the LMP2s in the way, but that is to unlap himself from that LMP2. So he's going to have to find a way past him. Now, I don't think the LMP2 will fight him off too much. They know how competitive Dan Kirby is compared to them. They know the fact that Kirby knows the car from the back of his own hand as he sails by. I think that's Alec King who has got out of the way, or is that Norm Graf? I can't really tell.
So let's see, we've got Lanny Hall there in the blue.
It is, no, sorry, it is Alec. It is Alec King, I think, who's remained out of the way.
Oh, and this is going to close up right here. Not to discredit Lanny Hall in any way, but I'm actually kind of surprised that Adrian Rice is not further up. Like, he really should be leading this just based off of some of his past performances, and it just kind of speaks to how much either he's struggling with the car, some of the misfortunes he's been having throughout the early part of this race, because it's come into the last almost 20 minutes, and he's just now getting onto the back of Lanny, and he's really struggling to get up there. I'm so used to seeing him really duking it out with some of these other kind of higher tier drivers, like, you know, the John Mayers, and even the Gilles Lons, and sometimes Troy Huyans. Like, he definitely has a good talent pool behind him, but yeah, he's struggling to keep up with Lanny Hall here. So it'll be interesting to see if he can do anything coming in the last segment of the race.
Adrian Rice chasing after Lanny Hall, who's over a second clear in their fight for honours in that competitive class. Matt Overton, who has only been in the pit lane, Ryan Polabit Reyes and Eric Jacobs pitted in. And Reyes is still clear by a long stretch, actually, over Alan Holdham, who's second now in the LMGT3 class. Further down, LMGT3 AM, Ibbotson is still clear, over a lap clear of everyone else, including second place Olivier Chevet, who's competing in that Lexus, which, as you mentioned, is competing for the last time at VIR. And what are the reasons exactly for that, Ross? Because I don't think you went into detail earlier as to why that is the case.
Oh, why it's heading out? Well, the Lexus, I believe, has been around for almost 10 years or more. So it's homologated, I think, out to 2030 or something like that. But if you've watched any of the motorsport news, you know that Toyota is desperately trying to reveal their LFR, or codename LFR, their upcoming GT3, which I believe they're trying to do a large media marketing thing around all of the cars that are coming out. And it was supposed to have been shown at the Japanese Auto Show at just a few weeks ago, and unfortunately they said, sorry, we're not going to show it here, we're going to wait until January and reveal it. So that's a bit frustrating, especially with the modders over at Storm Gang, because we all really wanted to get that thing out there, but unfortunately we're going to have to wait. So we might see it for the opening round at Daytona, maybe even Sebring, and so it may not be quite finished yet. It'll just kind of make an appearance until the new hotness comes into play.
We look forward to see the new machine next season. John Mayer is in now in Hypercar. That will be for his final set of tyres and fuel. There he is in the blue and black livery Cadillac. Now the brand, of course, as a lot of you will know, will make its Formula 1 debut next year, with Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez as their drivers. Will be one of the talking points of 2026, that'll be for sure. In the meantime, we focus on the action here at Road Atlanta. And it won't be too long before we see whoever's coming. Dan Kirby's coming in for his final stop now. He's done actually well to recover from where he was. He'll still get the hammer down. There goes John Mayer. How quick of a pit stop could we see?
For Dan Kirby, that should be fairly quick. I was slightly distracted seeing Laney Hall in the background clipping one of the dive planes off the front of his Cadillac, just as he was taking the curb coming around, kind of banking it off one of those concrete bollards in the back. That was unusual to see, but this should be a relatively quick stop. So Kirby now up to 5th place in class, and it looks like he is done. Off he goes. So 25.7 seconds stop, so that looks like it's a full tank of fuel, and about 47 seconds in total as he does the transit.
Let's come back out now ahead of that GT. It looks like it was drifting through, but that's the thing with the cold set of tyres put on the car. And Dan Kirby, as we've got a yellow flag in sector 1, presumably over at turn 1. We'll find out what exactly has been going on there.
Oh no!
And that is the reason why.
Oh,
that was a
no.
concertina collision. That was Matt Overton. I think that was Stephen Miller involved as well.
It was. Oh, and he's had another hit as he's come around. It looked like that might have been with. Oh, it was one of the other cars there. I believe that might have been. Right in front of Jerry Chen.
And he's. Yeah, Jerry. I don't think that was unsafe BJ. And it's absolute. That's John Mayer getting involved in it. He's been tapped around as well. Stephen Miller's car is terminally damaged. And Matt Overton, well, he's got to do his best to get back on the circuit safely now, because his car is going to be absolutely to pieces.
Oh, wow. I cannot believe that, especially with Overton. He's usually, especially being the admin of the series, he's typically pretty conscientious of where he's putting his car on track. And
oh, he needs to be careful. That's Jerry Chen again, who won't want to be hit for the second time.
Absolute disaster. And Stephen Miller is back in the wall in the background.
His car's finished. There's no doubt about it with Stephen Miller, and I would imagine Overton's car will be the same.
Oh,
Yeah, he's fighting the car, look. Suspension's damaged on Miller's car.
That's several minutes of damage repair if you can even get it back.
I'm really worried where Miller's going to place the car here, because there's LMP2s and hypercars trying to circulate their way by. He's almost spinning around. He's holding the field up, which is not going to please those coming through. And I suppose that's the challenge of the darkness here. And Sparks flying on Olivier Chauvet's car, who goes straight on. Oh my goodness me. Is that from the contacts earlier with Overton and Miller?
I think so, yeah. He's lost a tire. I'm surprised he wouldn't have gone into the pits. There's no way he wouldn't have known he wasn't missing a wheel in that car.
I'll be amazed if he gets that back.
What an absolute disaster. Yeah, that was incredible. It went from something as simple as a bit of a trip over top of one another going into turn one to just a massive pileup that just kept going.
He's having a horrible time of it. Well, all of the drama has seen changes happening in more classes than one. Jez Whitfield has gone in through into second place. Alan Holden remains in second. Eric Jacobs now up into third, and that is now right on the tail of Alan Holden, actually, is Eric Jacobs. So that battle could be one to look at. In fact, Jacobs gets by Holden. There is Olivier Chauvet, who cannot get the car around. He cannot even get the car turned into turn 6. And if I was him, I'd just park it and call it a night.
That's so frustrating. I mean, I always like to give props to the drivers that never give up and go to the end. I know for me, I would not blame him if he just pulled out and called a tow truck at this point, because that is so frustrating. It's like I said, it's unusual he wouldn't have known that he lost a tire. I'm wondering if maybe that wasn't from the collision at turn 1. If it was, or maybe he had some damage initially from there and ended up hitting something when he was trying to come to the pits afterwards, and then that finally tore the wheel off. My goodness. As a side note, Alec King is now up to second place overall.
Well, not by running wide the way he just done there, as he was trying to get by one of the GTs through the S's.
JT Tammy, only 11 seconds behind.
Yeah, he'll need to play it safe here, Alec King. He knows that he's having a very, very strong race so far. He's running, as we speak, in second place now in, well, overall in this one. Yeah, Gilles Lalonde's come into the pits for his last stop. But I'm just conscious of how far that LMP2 can go before it needs to pit in for one final splash and dash.
That's a good question. We're about to see something here.
That's Eric Jacobs. That was a tap from what looked like Jerry Chen that came through, and that's gonna suffer some damage, isn't it?
That was so hard to tell. I wasn't sure if he had made contact. If he did, it would have only been the slightest whisper of a touch. But the car's overloaded on the left side there. It wouldn't take much at all, even just taking the air off the rear wing.
Oh, he's going to get hit there. And two cars had to take evasive action.
That's
man.
That's Adrian
Yeah.
Rice. Michael Locke's car very low to the ground back there. Overton looked like he was having some issues a little bit. Oh, yeah. Oh. Into the wall, straight into the wall at turn 1.
Yeah. I hope he hasn't sustained too much more damage. Olivier Chauvet did make it back to the pit lane. Now, Overton's got to be careful he doesn't rejoin into the path of other drivers or become an obstacle course, for that matter. Through goes Troy Uyan.
Looks like we've had a change for first. In LMP2, Alec King is in. He's traded that position to JT Tammy, who's moved up into second place overall and first place in LMP2. Sheer Le Mans between the two now on track.
This should be a relatively short stop for Alec King, probably around about 20 seconds for this one. From the moment he's been in the box, not the overall time in the pit lane. Now, Paul Ibbotson is continuing to dominate proceedings in the LNGT3 AMS. He's over a lap clear of Jez Whitfield, who's looking good for a podium.
Yeah, doing a great job, Paul. He's managed to stay out of most of the complications that we've been jumping around track to try and get eyeballs on as quickly as possible, but he's been doing a great job. He's still behind Ryan Palbert-Reyes for overall GT position, obviously leading this class right now. Those Porsches looking really strong despite some of the earlier complications. I'm really impressed that they managed to really keep these things straight through here. Road Atlanta is definitely a difficult track to keep balanced with those cars. Any car really, but certainly with the 911 with its tendencies to do 911 things, as I said before. It's really cool to see them be able to tame these cars and really show at the kind of pace that they can get.
JC Tummy, a lap after Alec King came into the pit lane. He's now in. Now, how long will he remain in the box for? I would have thought he wouldn't be in there for too long before he gets going. Approaching the final 10 minutes of the race here at Road Atlanta. There goes Alec King. Got a fight to the end now between King and Tammy. Where is Alec King now that he's done his last stop? He's running third overall. Impressive.
Yeah, and just ahead of JT. It looks like he's managed to open that gap up. Well, I say opened up, but if we look back, actually JT Tammy's managed to close it back down again. So he's a little over 4 seconds behind. He was running about 10 or 11 just before that round of pit stops. So he's managed to bring it a lot closer. He's within striking distance. If he can make an attack, now's the time to do it.
Dan Kirby is the man behind JT Tammy to unlap himself from the LMP2. Tammy does not fight Dan Kirby. We've got an incident over in Sector 2. We didn't see who it was, but the yellow flag's gone away, and Eric Jacobs' problems haven't gone away at all.
Wow. Looks like there is an incident here with Michael Locke. Oh,
And that's a spin. Now, does he rejoin safely here?
That is such a terrible spot because, like we saw before, it's so easy to just get a little bit loose there coming off the corner. The car's loaded on the right-hand side. If you touch that curve in a way it doesn't like, around you go, and then you're instantly in such a terrible path. And we saw the same thing happen with the incident, I believe it was last year here with the Acura that had come off of that corner and it piled straight into a car that was sitting sideways on the track. I think it was a Mustang. Can't remember which one, but I mean, you can see exactly why. It's just it's a corner that begs for disaster.
Well, at least he's recovered, Michael Locke, but he has lost time. The next car behind him, battling for position overall, is the man who is leading this race before his long first pit stop, Dan Kirby. He's got another 18 seconds to make up on Michael Locke before he can even think about passing him, but he's only got 8.5 minutes to do just that. And it looks like he's trying to set fast laps each and every time. Troy Uyan has left the entire field now. Shilla Lalonde in second place. Less than half a minute clear over Alec King, who's got JT Tammy not too far behind either. Those two will be battling for honours in LMP2, who have been very strong here at Road Atlanta, it has to be said.
Yeah, they've been... That's impressive, you know, props to Troy Uyan. I mean, despite the fact that there's chaos going on around him, taking a lap out of the field is truly remarkable, especially when you've got somebody like Dan Kirby right there with you. You know, Gutierrez, who unfortunately had that incident early on that launched him out of the race almost literally. it's quite a lot to say. You know, he's been able to sort of pick his way through the incidents. He's been a traffic whisperer this entire race. I don't think we've really had a single incident that he's been involved with, at least that we've been able to catch on to. Just to see Paul Davidson giving flashers to Eric Jacobs, letting him know he's there coming through.
Hopefully we won't get any more incidents between now and the end of the race. Track temperature has dropped, unsurprisingly. It was 22 earlier, now down to 14. No rain expected either between now and the end. There we see Jerry Chen, incident packed race for him. One to forget overall. And he's now running 6th in class and 11th overall. The next driver he will be wanted to pass is Dan Kirby, who's a lap ahead of him.
Yeah, that's such a shame for Jared because he had an amazing outing. The first half of his race was just tremendous. He was having great battles and just taking advantage of some of the disasters befalling others. And he's just suffered so much. And now he has an off track coming through turn 8. And tapped
He's caught the barrier. That'll damage the rear suspension, I think, for Jerry Chen.
From bad to worse.
From bad to worse, yeah. There's Troy Uyan going by him. Further up ahead. What's happened here? Oh, that's a whack! That's Matt Overton, isn't it?
Eric Jacobs, so he's, Ibbotson into the back of Jacobs, who looks like either he stalled it or he's, not sure what's happening there. It looks like he may have gotten stuck or is just trying to get into gear. Yeah, just missed his braking mark and sailed right into the back of Jacobs. That was Ibbotson who was up ahead. Another quick look.
Oh, it was.
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't go left because Dan Kirby was to his left. He just missed his braking point, really.
Back to the live pictures here. Sorry, we don't have the transitions up tonight, but we'll work on that for the next one.
Well, Paul Ibbotson has had an incident-free race, apart from the incident which we just witnessed involving him and Eric Jacobs. I don't think even if he got a penalty, it wouldn't affect his finishing spot. Well, claiming the victory in the LMGT3 AMS. And Jez Whitfield is nearly 2 laps behind Paul Ibbotson, thinking about it now.
Yeah, here he comes around the crest. You know, call out to Jez. It's the first race I've seen him in quite a while. And obviously he started things off with, you know, as a little bit of a clumsy coming together with some of the other AM drivers on the beginning of the race, but he's managed to recover pretty well. Second place to Paul Ibbotson, who again he's sitting second place in GT overall, so the car very strong. Paul has a very good handle on it, so to be able to overcome what Bowders, McQuarrie, and Gervais have been having to deal with, and props to him. Looking good in that Mustang, making it actually stand out, as we've got a couple Cadillacs coming up through the field here behind him.
That was Troy Uyan getting past John Mayer, I think. Now John Mayer, who's on course for the Hypercar podium, he's now 2 laps down on the leader, whilst running in 5th place. Now JC Tammy is not too far up the road from Troy Uyan to lap for the second time. But I think it's going to be short, actually, of putting a second lap on that LMP2. The Akira going through. Set to 1, there's a GT3 in the way. That might be McQuarrie who's just got out of the way there. This is really fun to watch though when you see JT Tammy, who's going after Alec King for the honours in the LMP2 class. Ignore the pit stop timing thing there, that's just a glitch on that part. Nothing too much within our control, really. But this is so fun to watch as the... Did you see the amount of steering lot there?
Yeah, he's
that was incredible.
Pushing. Yeah, that was Tammy. He has the nickname Arrive and Drive, Mr. Arrive and Drive. So he doesn't do too much with setup work. He just gets in the car, any car that he's driving in, and just goes. And he is doing everything he can to try and close that gap down to Alec King. He seems to be hovering around that 4-second mark, though. I mean, he's matching pace pretty evenly. Alec King probably suffering at least a little bit, marginally, with that damage he copped earlier on. But, I mean, with 2.5 minutes left in this race, I think it's going to take Alec King getting caught up or caught out to be able to close that gap and make a last-ditch effort to go for the win.
Troy Uyan has started his penultimate lap of the race as JT Tammy puts it up on another one of the GTs. What a race from Uyan, and a gorgeous livery under the lights as well. And how can you sum up Troy Uyan's race? Because he's hardly put a foot wrong since he inherited the lead from Dan Kirby, had his issues, as Uyan gets through the traffic once more.
Well, as I said before, he's basically been the one with the cleanest nose coming through it all. So it's, oh, and Miller's off, unable to catch it. Oh, yeah, just pushed it too wide. He's definitely been suffering. I feel like everyone else has kind of had their own stories to tell as they've gone to the wars within this race. I've been impressed. You know, obviously we had the very big coming together as Overton and Holden were having fisticuffs and sort of started having a stumbling over with Stephen Miller, and that just led to that massive cascade of collisions. Just unfortunate there, but Troy Uyan was nowhere to be seen. He was on the other side of the track as that was all taking place, and here we go. This should be the final lap of the race as we come with 1 minute to go. And Troy Uyan to get around Gervais.
Who's had his own melodies in this one. That could have ended in disaster there for Troy Uyan. Having said that, Jules Lalonde is over a lap behind, so I don't know if that would have affected anything because of where we are in terms of the time. There is Jules Lalonde coming through. And... oh, he's gone off! Lalonde off again! Oh, I thought that was going to end up in the same way as what happened to Johnny Gutierrez earlier on in the sister car.
He's struggling so much right now, and that being an all-wheel drive car, anytime that you start to struggle at one end, it can really introduce a lot of odd effects, usually understeer, but sometimes it can trick you to go the other way. He just wants this race to be over.
Uyan has driven a beautiful race. He's about to claim victory overall and in the hypercar class. A terrific performance here from Troy Uyan, who exits the last corner to win at Road Atlanta. A great performance by him. A superb job at the penultimate round of the championship. What a race from him. And I'm sure that'll do his points total no harm whatsoever. Over a lap behind is Jules Lalonde. He will come through to finish in second place. And then we look at the LMP2 class of Alec King, who will come through to take the honours there. He is in sector 2 at the moment. What I can say now is that Lanny Hull has won the Hypercar AM class, finishing over the line, less than 5 seconds clear over Adrian Rice. In LMGT3s, Ryan Polbert-Reyes coming out on top there, a long way clear over his nearest challenger, Alan Holden. In the LMGT3 AMS, Paul Ibbotson is the well-deserved victor there. And that is all of the winners that I needed to have mentioned. But what a race. Alec King does hold on ahead of JT Tammy to win in the LMP2s. So a good job from him. Dan Kirby recovering to 9th place. He got by Michael Lock on the final lap, but that was as far as it got for him.
Wow, just an incredible race. I mean, there was going into it tonight. If you'd have asked me what I would have expected, I could not have predicted that our top 3 overall would contain an LMP2. That we'd have a crash that involved 7 or 8 different drivers. We'd have 2 cars losing tires throughout the race and still managing to try and go on at least a little bit, and to see a GT3 AM leading the way for a very good chunk of the entire round.
All the cars are over the line now as well, and we can run down on our final classification in what's been a terrific Quite chaotic race, it has to be said, around Road Atlanta. A fan's favourite with the notorious S's included. Troy Uyen wasn't phased though. He's come out on top in the end with Shirley Lalonde in second place, Alec King in third, and winner in the LMP2 class over JT Tammy. Then it's John Mayer and Brian Hall. Lanny Hall, the winner in the Hypercar AMS, in seventh place. Raging Rice A. Dan Kirby recovering to ninth after his repair job needed to be done. Michael Locke running out all of those in LMP2 and the top 10 overall. Norm Groff, the last of those in the Hypercar AMS. So we go to Jerry Chen. Ryan Paulbert Reyes, the winner in LMGT3s. Then it's Paul Ibbotson who comes out on top in the LMGT3 AMS. Then we've got Alan Holden, Eric Jacobs, Jazz Whitfield, who ends up second in the class there. Well done to him, and James Burrows run at the LMGT3 AM podium. Alexander McCreary is next. And then we've got Matt Overton, Stephen Miller, and Olivier Chevet. The rest of those to have finished. The four drivers we lost were Johnny Gutierrez, Max Sunderlap, John Uyan, and Tom Nacella.
Well, so, wow. I guess we can see now if we have any drivers coming in for the booth for a final interview, just to cap off the night. Tom, how do you feel about that one?
It was so difficult to keep up sometimes, but I really enjoyed that one. But it could have ended so differently for Jules Lalonde, especially in the closing laps, when twice at that same corner at turn one where he went off and it nearly ended in tears. Anyway, we'll come back to that in a little bit. Let's have a word with the LMP2 winner and overall podium finisher, Alec King. Good evening.
Good evening, gents. How's it going?
Not too bad, thank you. Well, that was quite a chaotic race, was it not?
Yeah, it was definitely tricky. There's just so much traffic here. You know, this track has such a high speed everywhere. In an LMP2, you're just stuck to the ground. This track's fun to drive in an LMP2, but with all the traffic, it's very difficult. So definitely was a mess, but it was a good time.
How have you found the season then with the championship as it is? Because this is my first time commentating on this championship this year. How have you found the season, and which have been the best moments for you?
Just the season in general, you know, this year being in the P2, you know, I won the Hypercar Championship last year, and then when they announced that the LMP2s would be added, I decided to jump on board and, you know, just run a different car. And for me, this whole year has been great, you know. This round is a pretty big moment. I haven't had good luck at Road Atlanta the last couple of years, so to actually finish a race at Road Atlanta, but then to actually be able to win the race at Road Atlanta, it was definitely enjoyable. But all in all, it's been a great year. I think with that win, beating JT, I get to wrap up the LMP2 championship, which is pretty cool. So get to go into VIR next weekend or next round with no pressure. But no, all in all, it's just been a really great year.
It was very close towards the end, wasn't it? I think it came down to less than 3 seconds between you and Tammy by the time the checker flag came out. But that was your 8th win of the season from 10 rounds. And yeah, well-deserved victory, I think, overall in the LMP2 standings. I could just see it on my screen. And yeah, is there anyone you want to shout out to, Alec, before we let you go?
The whole Shade Tree Motorsports group, we had a bunch of us to start of the year, but towards the end, it just was me and JT. So JT, my teammate, him and I always push each other pretty hard and always have a good battle. You know, my whole family for watching and supporting this, and just everybody involved with the CMS Discord, Storm Gang Simulation. You guys for commentating. You know, we've had a really fun year, a really great series, and you know, I want to continue with it and you know, attract more people and just have a good time with it.
Excellent. I think Matt Overton's just come into the box with us, perhaps to share a word or two about this evening's action. Matt, good evening.
Hey, good evening. It's been a great race. What a fabulous time. Lots of cars, and yeah, I'm going to sort of kick the wall for a while. But actually, I just said to the guys that there was a whole pile of really good passes by the multi-class, and you know, this track doesn't make it easy, but they did a really good job of it, especially the LMPs, as they sort of had to drag the GTs down the back straight. They did that really nicely, so kudos to them. And I will give a shout out to to Alec, who has been a steadfast supporter all along. I heard him saying he wants to get more people out. Certainly, him sponsoring the broadcast here on his own bat is really appreciated. It brings the races out and makes it exciting for everybody.
Fantastic. And we've got one round to go at VIR. And how do you think the championship's gone as a whole, from your point of view, not just what we've seen tonight?
I'm really pleased. We've had great turnout all the way through years. This is our second year doing the IMSA to differentiate from the WEC that is done by the VWSC, and I think it's gone really well. People appreciated that. A bunch of tracks they're familiar with, and some great competition. The three classes makes it different as well. I think that's gone really, really well. I hope we have a few more LMPs next year to balance out the field, but I'm really pleased with the racing that's happened for the whole series.
And anyone you want to shout out to, Matt, before we let you go?
Oh, well, Alex, I'll be one, you guys are the other, and to my wife, Sharon, who is a real trooper on supporting me with my racing when and where I do it. So she's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Wimbo.
Matt, yeah. Matt, thank you for taking the time to speak to us. And also thank you to Alec for taking the time to speak to us on clinching the LMP2 championship with a race to spare.
Thank you.
That was Matt Overton. And now we can get a word with the LMGT3 AM winner, Paul Ibbotson. Good evening. You won that by a country mile.
Wow, it sure didn't feel like it. I was sweating pretty bad by the end.
There was that collision, I think, with Eric Jacobs, wasn't it, over at the turn 10A and B chicane. But other than that, it was effectively a clean performance.
Yeah, I probably need to apologize to Eric for that, but it was a little tricky. I mean, there was a lot of traffic in this race, and not only hypercars, but a lot of GT3 traffic. And I think several times I came across 2 or 3 GT3s racing for position and not really willing to let me through because they probably didn't see me actually racing anybody. So, yeah, I ended up at one point, I think I kind of got boxed in behind Eric and ended punting him off on turn 10 there.
Yeah, I'm sure it wasn't malicious by any means. I think it was just the fact that you were wanting to get by, but as you said, got boxed in when Dan Kirby got alongside to let both you and Jacobs, and it just, it was one of those things, I suppose. How has your season been then, from your point of view?
Season's been great. Really enjoying this 911. Really seems to gel with me, and even tonight, as we were racing, watching Alexander in the Aston Martin ahead of me, I could see him basically smoking his rear tire out of a lot of corners where I was keeping the same pace and I think looking after my tires quite well. So I'm really happy with the car. The season's been going good when I make it. I've missed a few races, so I think probably Stephen Miller's still got the amateur tied up or sewn up.
I'm looking at it at the moment because, the results gone away from me, actually. I think you still got a slim chance of it because Stephen Miller finished quite a bit down, and I don't think he's mathematically got it clinched. Something that didn't score because he didn't finish, and McQuarrie ended up in 4th in the class tonight, which would only give him 20 championship points. That would move him on to 192. You're now on to 170. There's still an outside chance at VIR. I'm just going to put that out to you now.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I'm really just doing it for each race, and yeah, tonight went fantastic, so can't ask for more than that.
Anyone want to shout out to Paul before we let you go?
Yeah, thanks to my wife. We just had our 16th anniversary, and like Matthew said, it's nice to have a better half
Remarkable.
that will allow you to do this sort of thing.
Excellent. Paul, well-deserved victory tonight. Well done, and best of luck for the season finale at VIR.
Thank you, and thank you guys for taking care of the broadcast. It's really fun to watch afterwards.
No problem. Thank you very much. That was Paul Ibbotson. We'll now get the LMGT3 winner this evening. For the 6th time this season, Ryan Pulbert Reyes comes out on top in that particular class. Ryan, good evening.
Evening, guys.
Sum up the race for us, because I don't think it was exactly plain sailing, was it, considering all the carnage that me and Ross, and perhaps the audience as well, had to witness?
Yeah, it was pretty intense. A lot of car dodging that race. I felt like the race kind of like depended on these accidents throughout the whole entire hour and a half, whatever it may be. So whoever can survive that would come out on top. And I just try to concentrate and make sure that keeping an eye on my relatives and all that, to make sure I steer clear of everything.
And the win as well effectively seals the LNGT3 title for you with a race to spare. How have you enjoyed the campaign?
It's pretty fun. I mean, sticking with the Porsche, it's been kind of a challenge. There's a lot of, strengths and weaknesses. But being a Porsche fan in real life, I kind of had to just rough it out. So, but besides that, yeah, besides blowing up my engine at Detroit and things like that, I'm looking forward to next season, possibly jumping into the Porsche hypercar next season. So we'll see. But yeah, it's been great.
What exactly are the strengths and weaknesses with the Porsche then? What separates it from its counterparts?
Well, on the straights for sure, the Astons, they pull away from me. A lot of my lap time goes away when I got a long straight. And then once the rear tires start going off, it's kind of tough because I got the extra weight in the back with the engine, so it becomes even more tail happy. So it's kind of like you got to really concentrate to keep the car in check.
Fantastic. And is there anyone you want to shout out to, Ryan, before we let you go, and perhaps maybe dedicate this success to someone?
My buddies Mac and Alex, they had a pretty rough outing today with all the carnage going on. I think Alex is still in the running for the championship that goes to the last race this season. So good luck to him, and also my girlfriend for letting me actually spend the time on the sim practicing and putting in the laps. So yeah.
Ryan, it's been brilliant speaking to you. Well done on sealing the LNGT3 Pro title, and best of luck for the season finale at VIR.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too as well. And we'll bring our final interviewee into the box, and it's the man who's wrapped up the win tonight here at Road Atlanta. He sealed the championship before we came to Road Atlanta, and he's added another win to his total this season. 4 wins this season, Troy.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, this race was just about surviving, I think. So I don't know what happened to Dan. I don't know what happened to Johnny, but I think they got into some kerfuffles with GT cars, and I didn't, and that wraps it up.
You've summed it up perfectly there. What happened to Johnny Gutierrez is that he basically had a spin at turn 1. He had a whack against the tyre barrier, which saw him rebound off and effectively end his race right there, and then his car was terminally damaged. Not the first non-finish he's had this season, but I think since Dan Kirby had the issue in the pits, he just never really put a foot wrong from there, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was a somewhat just staying out of trouble, basically. I had a nice gap. I was had a big enough gap to take tires at the middle stop. It was not in the plans, but it was like a 32-second gap to Johnny. So I thought I'll take the extra 25 seconds for tires and just have a comfortable run. Yeah, came out like basically right on target, 10 seconds ahead of him on cold tires, and then like shortly thereafter, he went out. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. It was a full lap back to Gilles. I don't think I've ever won a race by a full lap before. So things went wrong for other people, clearly.
It was survival of the fittest. I perfectly agree with that. Sum up your season then, because it's been a few twists and turns, but it's been about consistency all the way through. Which circuits do you feel has been like the best for you personally?
You know, I'm actually really happy with getting the win at Road America, because that was one of the testing races, and I was in like a podium spot, kind of first race properly with the hypercars in the preseason, and then just spun out and got into wrecks, and yeah. And then I ran out of fuel on the last lap at Daytona. Would have been like start the year off with a podium. I ran out of fuel on the banking and had to coast through the pit lane. Don't know if that was allowed or not, but I did do it. And then, yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the beginning of how it was going. Like I felt like I had some speed, but it was also like my first year back after some breaks. So I thought like I'd be up with it. But yeah, getting a few wins on the bounce now, I feel really good. I knew Dan was going to have some DQs for the car swapping, and I'm not sure what happened to Kesby, but so I was like, I might actually win this championship, but I feel like I don't want to win if I didn't at least get a race win or something. So to get 3 wins in a row now, I feel pretty good. I mean, this one obviously was a war of attrition, but yeah, just kind of I'm just happy because I feel like a deserving champion now that I've gotten a few wins on the bounce. You know what I mean? So yeah, happy with the year.
Anyone want to shout out to Troy before we let you go?
CMS Pro guys, trying a couple different cars this week, and I was a little lazy with testing, so glad for the setup. You guys for the broadcast. It's been a great year. We got one more to go, but yeah, I also just it's actually kind of sinking in now. I can't believe I'm a NARS champion, so that's pretty awesome. So shout out to Matt for putting on the season and doing a great job adminning. And sorry we keep doing fender benders into tight corners.
Troy, fantastic job again tonight, and well done on clinching the championship before then. And we'll speak to you again during the last round at VIR.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
That was Troy Uyan coming out on top as the overall winner, and a fantastic job from him. And that sums up the evening's action, I think, as well, Ross, on what we've seen tonight. I'm surprised we didn't get more non-finishes than what we had, 4 in total.
Yeah, that was Troy said it great. You did too. It was basically who could finish it all without incident would come out on top. So it was a war of attrition, and it was lots of good moments of racing, especially in the first half. There's a lot of exciting back and forth, and it seemed like once we kind of hit that halfway point and the sun started kind of tipping over the trees, everyone just ran into their own issues, and they were fighting the track themselves, the cars, or just spinning debris in front of them.
Ross, it's been fantastic. Well done to all of our class winners for coming out on top tonight, and particularly to the LMP2 winner of the overall season, Alec King, and congratulations to the man we just spoke to, Troy Uyan, on wrapping up the Hypercar Pro title. Thank you to everyone that's been tuning in. Do make sure you like and subscribe in case you haven't already done so, and you can keep right up to date with everything that's been streamed on the channel itself. Ross, it's been good having you company, and we'll hope to do it all again next time at VIR for the season finale. I am Tom Cairns with Ross Smith, and we'll speak to you again soon when the NARS Virtual Modern Sports Car Championship returns.